Hey, Perfect Spirit. I'm Sam Shelley, the Miracle Man. Now let's create a miracle in your life right here, right now. So today I want to talk about the differences between meditation versus mindfulness versus mindless. That's just three distinct practices or non-practices, if you will. But this is from my own experience. I basically see meditation as a formalized process. It can either be like a silent meditation or maybe a guided meditation. And people also talk about like walking meditations and some other types of meditations like that. But I think like walking meditation is something I would categorize under mindfulness practices. So let's talk about, like a silent meditation. This is how I began my journey roughly 10 years ago. Was just sitting in silence for the most part. And then it was, there goes that mind and pulling yourself back into the moment. There goes the mind again telling you a story. Oh, I have the awareness to see that. Let me bring myself back. So it's really having that, learning that self-awareness through the stillness. And I think stillness is actually the hardest meditation of them all because you have to have the awareness to bring yourself back into this moment. So meditation is like a pointed focus. So like when the mind would pull me, my focus would be like, where are my feet? There goes the mind again, where are my feet? It could be, where's your breath? It could be focusing on your third eye. You could be focused on specific areas. Or breath work, focus on the breathing in and out. But for me, it was just like, where are my feet or where are my hands? When I was noticing my mind was caught in this story. But it takes a little bit of awareness. I think a better meditation for beginners might be a guided meditation to bring you back to this moment. So you don't have to have all that awareness that you're in this story. That a guided meditation can bring you back into this moment, back into your power. And we always remember that if we're up in here in the mind, we're in a disempowered state. So this is what I see, like meditation is under a controlled environment. You're not dealing with everyday life. You're just sitting here quietly. So there's no interruptions or somebody's leading you quietly through this practice. And I see many angry meditators because when they meditate, they're in a controlled environment. But dealing with the real world, if you will, upsets the apple cart. That gets really triggers the stories, the memories. So this is where like mindfulness comes in. So like a walking meditation is like a mindfulness practice. So basically a mindfulness practice is dealing with everyday life, but learning to bring yourself back here in this moment. So if you're standing in a line at a store, you can either be, in the story like, oh, I hate this waiting. This waiting is terrible. Why don't they get more help? This mind's just constantly going, or thinking about what you have to do later after shopping, or what happened to you earlier. So mindfulness practice is good to remind yourself that I'm here in this moment. I'm here standing in this line. I see this many people. I see the items they're purchasing. And really engaging the scene, if you will. Really engaging this moment. And that just teaches you to pull yourself back out of this moment. So when you're feeling anger, frustration, you can have that practice like, okay, where am I standing? What do I see? What do I hear? And really bring yourself back as you're dealing with real life situations. So if somebody's telling you about all their stories, all their complaints, and you notice the mind getting triggered, you can just say, okay, I hear them, I see them, I notice they're wearing this, they're wearing their hair like this, and just keeping yourself engaged, fully engaged of what's going on, listening to those words, and fully listening without reacting or acting without the need to respond, just allowing them to share words. And you're keeping yourself here engaged, listening to those words. And if those words starting to trigger you and pull you into the story, then maybe you briefly coming back to see what they're wearing, how they're wearing their hair, the tone of their voice. Is it loud, soft? How's their inflection? Noticing the little qualities is a mindfulness practice. Of course, the mind will grow bored because the mind likes to do that. The mind likes the boredom story because the mind doesn't want to give up control. So the mind does all sorts of things. Distracts you. If you're doing like a form of meditation, you'll fall asleep as a mental defense mechanism because the mind does not want to give up control. So anytime you're bringing it back to this moment, the mind is in protest. But I like this fun story. I like this distraction. And so that's where really mindfulness is, getting back into control so the mind's not dragging you all over the place. So when somebody's really triggering you, then just do some exercises to pull yourself back into this moment. But try to be present with each word without reacting or responding to that. That's an interesting practice because the mind always likes to interrupt. The mind likes to be right. But unfortunately, the third item I like to talk about is where I think where at least 95% of the population is, the mindless state. That's when you're in autopilot. You're constantly in reactivity. You're not pulling your mind back. It's running around. It's chasing the stories. This is the mindless state. We're just mindlessly doing things, mindlessly reacting, mindlessly just doing whatever, but you're not controlling that mind. That mind is literally dragging you all over the place, creating stress, worry, anxiety, panic attacks. 1,001 things the mind is doing in the mindless state, which is really funny because mindful, you're being aware of how filled the mind is with stuff. But in the mindless state, you have no awareness. You're just going along with the program. Whatever this inner dialogue is, you just go with it. Oh, that sounds like fun. Let's go do that distraction. Oh, let's worry about this. Let's future guess about this. And that's where the mind does. So what I really suggest for people that say, I can't meditate, I could never meditate, because that's also a story, is just try a mindfulness practice. And everything that you do can be a mindfulness practice. From watching TV, instead of getting absorbed in the story, just notice, what the actors are wearing, the inflection they're using on their voice, the expressions on their face. You can really break that down. So you can really use like TV watching as a mindfulness practice. Washing the dishes is very easy, feel the texture of that dish, the spoon, feeling textures, feeling the temperature of the water, hearing the sound of the water, feeling where you're standing in that moment. This holding a mouse is a mindfulness practice. How tight are you holding this? Is it hot, cold? Is it rough? Is it smooth? Describe this. That's a mindfulness practice. Because you have to realize the mind can either be here in this moment or in the mindless state, doing whatever the mind wants you to do, dragging you around all over the place. So I really suggest getting out of the mindless state and reclaiming, re-owning your power before a life crisis hits. And you're just being pulled all over the place. You're being stressed out. You're being overwhelmed, overworked, whatever it may be, because the mind is constantly on the hamster wheel. So just really, slow down, increase your awareness, but just coming back into this moment when you remember. And it'll become a habit after a while. But just be aware the mind's going to throw up defense mechanisms, the boredom story, that this is a waste of time. I'd rather have you distracted in a powerless state, in victimhood, that life is happening to you. No, life is actually happening for your benefit, for your growth. So you're having all these painful experiences, these suffering, whatever it may be, that you're not enjoying, as an opportunity to wake up to your truth, to your perfect spirit. I think that's enough of my talk about these three. So just notice where you are, like meditation, formal practice. I see it as a formal practice. Mindfulness, if more people did mindfulness practices, the world would be a much, much different place, because it's teaching you how to deal with life situations and challenges. But unfortunately, 95%, I suspect, or maybe more than 95%, are in the mindless state. Because how many people are truly awake in the world? If you say there's 7.8 billion people, I would say probably less than 200 million are actually awake, or 300 million. It's really a small number. Maybe it's even less than 10 million out of 7.8 billion people. Though it's a really low number. I don't know how many people are meditating every day. I don't think it's in the hundreds of millions, maybe 1 or 2 million. I know when I do Insight Timer, I'm usually meditating with like 9 to 10,000 people. 9 to 10,000 people out of billions. It's really small. But when we get into what they say is when you get into that 1% state, then the world shifts. So we got a ways to go, because 1% of the 7.8 billion is what, 7.8 million? I know we're not there. So maybe a million or two are actually meditating in this mindful state. It's very small, but we can get out of this. We can reclaim our power. We can live the life that we want. All right. I think that's enough of my rambling today. So let me know if there's any videos that you want to see, some kind of questions that you are dealing with. I'm here to help you and support you. So I am Sam the Miracle Man. My site's over at Head Trash Anonymous. Well, take good care of yourself, and I will definitely talk to you tomorrow. Bye for now.